I'm Sandra Notardinato. I run the Cognizant Global Partner Ecosystem and Influencer Relations. I joined Cognizant a little less than 2 years ago after 15 years at Gartner as an IT services analyst, and before that I was a sell-side analyst, always covering the IT services industry. So I've been advising investors, enterprise buyers, technology vendors, and service providers on the inner workings of the IT services industry and the role that it plays in the technology landscape. So I bring a unique perspective to my remit, which is to jumpstart and really recreate our partnership and alliance program. Over the last couple of years, we have been completely transforming this effort of our partner ecosystem. But before I get into the specifics of what we've done, I thought it would be a really good idea just to click on a couple of things here that help the audience here level set on what partners bring to the table, what Cognizant brings to the table. And just to be clear, I've been given the charge of catching up on some time, so I'm only going to click on a couple things here. So first and foremost, market reach and credibility. The importance, I think, that Amy shared on how vast the ecosystem that is required in today's market really forces us to think about how we want to partner in the market and how we want to build that credibility with our partners to capitalize on that services attach rate that Bill just mentioned. Our partners are an innovation accelerator. We use them to build our innovation capital, which is a really critical part of our story. They are a critical input as well to our sense, incubate, and scale framework that Robbie mentioned. So obviously a very important way for us to pivot toward where the demand is coming. And as Bill mentioned in his video, trust and advocacy is so incredibly important with our partner universe because it gives us the, as they advocate for us in the marketplace, it gives us the sales momentum as well as the acceleration in terms of our combination and the impact we have in the industry. Cognizant also brings great value to our partner ecosystem, and I'm going to just touch on two things here. As I mentioned to you before, we've completely transformed our partner strategy, and because of that, we are now a much more relevant player in the industry, and that gives us the right to compete in ways that we have not been able to in quite some time. I'd also highlight the fact that we have unique partnering opportunities that we offer to our partners. You've heard a lot about the platforms that Prasad has built and is building in SPE. We have TriZetto. We have other industry-specific platforms. Our partners want to align with us and those platforms to transform what we're seeing in the marketplace. And from a workforce perspective, the expertise that we have, industry, proprietary, domain, all of that makes for much better client experiences and client outcomes. And that's another advantage or value that we bring to our partner organizations. So what have we done over the last 2 years? So first and foremost, I'll talk about how we have completely transformed our go-to-market strategy. Specifically, we have created vertical sales programs across our markets in the United States, our verticals in the United States. In EMEA and APJ, we're picking very focused strategies around specific partners by account, which sounds very much like blocking and tackling, but the great thing about blocking and tackling is that when you do that, it has an immediate impact on the ability that you have to change and drive the incremental growth that we have been trying to drive. Another thing that we're doing, we're putting more sales and enablement within our own organization and sales enablement within our partner organization to ensure that we're selling the 120 plus offerings that Naveen talked about in his presentation and the other hundreds of co-developed solutions that we have in the marketplace. So that drives more revenue, greater streams of revenue. We're leveraging new commercial constructs. These new commercial constructs are a reflection both of our ability to enter new markets, be more price competitive when we want to work on large deals, particularly those that are asset-based. So all of those elements of what we've done from a go-to-market perspective are underpinned by what we're working on, which is also creating greater operational rigor in order to make sure that our program around partners remains very competitive and future-looking. Scaling with our high-value partnerships. So what do I mean by that? I'll give you a couple of examples. Microsoft. Just a couple of years ago, we were number 5, number 6 global system integrator driving Azure consumption revenue. In 2 years, we've been able to go from that mid-single-digit global system integrator to number 2 globally and number 1 in the United States. Of course, you know, migration is a very important strategic growth initiative for Microsoft. So the more we can show them our value, the more we get the benefits of that partnership through incentives, et cetera. With AWS, we're accessing never before received investments in the form of strategic collaboration agreements. We have multiple strategic collaboration agreements with AWS in the areas of smart manufacturing, healthcare, as well as there's some very domain specific as well. So that's another example of how we're coming to market together with AWS to scale and have greater impact on our revenue. From a foundational perspective, with Salesforce, we are a launch partner for Agentforce. We are number 2 when it comes to certifications in Data Cloud, which is obviously very important to their story. With Oracle, we're entering the 2nd year of the Oracle Cloud program. That's opened many doors for us in terms of new revenue opportunities associated with Oracle Cloud. With SAP, we're a validated RISE partner, a very critical validation in the landscape of SAP currently. So those are just some examples of what we're doing with our high-value partnerships. We're also broadening and diversifying our partner network. You heard Bill McDermott and what he said. We're a global elite partner to ServiceNow. What that means is that there are 6 of us that are in this very top tier. In order for us to be elevated into that top tier means that others have had to drop out. So we're gaining share in ServiceNow, and I can tell you that just a couple of years ago, we were number 15 when it came to selling ServiceNow licenses in the marketplace. We're now their number 1 salesperson, sales company, I should say, on that ServiceNow platform. So we're gaining market share in this ServiceNow ecosystem. With other partners such as Snowflake and Databricks, we're building business groups as we put the nomenclature of a business group around a partner that drives a tremendous amount of internal effort, investments, all of the energy that goes into creating solutions that then we scale in the marketplace. So really making a bigger impact in data and analytics. Last week at NVIDIA, we have actually taken this partnership essentially from 0 to, we'll say, 60 within a 12-month period where we had a very limited partnership with the company 12 months ago to a tremendous showing at GTC last week where we demoed 8 solutions, one of which was around our healthcare LLM, where we're actually addressing some of the things that Paul mentioned around the excess costs that are associated with healthcare. This healthcare LLM is actually focused on extracting more accurate medical coding and taking 60 billion of excess costs out of the system. We also showcased our Omniverse and digital twin technology with Train. That was something that Vibha mentioned earlier this morning. And we are launching our technology startup ecosystem, working very closely with our strategy organization as well as other parts of the industry to ensure that we're building out a very competitive partner ecosystem. I'll just touch on building a culture of innovation capital. The point I'll make here is very much around our intellectual capital. You know, we work very closely with training and development, learning and development, which is in Kathy's organization, and our service lines to ensure that we are forecasting accurately the number of resources we need associated with any particular partner today and for a specific period of time, as well as what we are predicting over the course of the next few years. So very good, strong performance over the last couple of years. How has that translated into impact, business impact? First and foremost, if we just talk about the funnel and lead generation, based on the systems that we are currently using, and I'll make it very clear that we are always looking to improve our operational processes, we have a pipeline as of last week of roughly $11 billion in partner-supported TCV. That means that these are examples of engagements that we are working very closely with our partners in the marketplace and driving that engagement. In terms of our bookings, our impact on bookings last year was $6 billion of partner-supported TCV, also a number that we see based on the data that we collect, and we'll be updating you on that as we recreate and build stronger systems around that. I'll just touch on a couple of other things here in terms of our win rates. Our win rates are improving. When we go into the market in a prescriptive way with our partner, not only does our win rate improve, our sales cycle is shorter, and our deals are larger. Remember that a partner is always going to want to work with a GSI, so now with this transformation that we have made, we are much more active with our partners, and therefore it's driving not only a bigger denominator, but also the ability to drive a higher win rate. In the world of lighthouse deals, next week is Google Next. Be on the lookout for some very interesting things that we're working on in the retail industry with Google around call center transformation and new streams of revenue, which I touched on before in terms of selling better our co-developed solutions. I'm just going to say here that our Sense, Incubate, and Scale is really critical, not only to the partner program in terms of the microcosm that it is of our overall business, but it is a critical program because it helps the company to pivot in the direction that we need to go in order to drive growth and create shareholder value. So, what do I want to leave you with today? I want to leave you with the fact that, for the most part, the real heavy lifting behind our partner ecosystem transformation is behind us. It's always going to need work. There is no doubt about that. But the big changes, I think, are behind us. We have a framework that drives continuous innovation that is also going to keep us moving in the direction of where demand is coming or going. I would also point out that the foundation that we have created is scalable, which allows for that continuous recreation of what we need in order to be competitive. And if all of these things come together, and if we continue to build on the successes of the last couple of years, I feel very confident that we'll be able to take that partner sell with TCV to 2x what it is today as a percentage of total bookings, which in my opinion not only helps to add to our growth acceleration story, but it also brings incremental opportunities that we feel really good about our position with our partners. So I thank you very much for your time. I went over a little bit.